Hello and welcome to a new episode of Las Platicas. Kristen, who do we have in Zoom studio today?
Well, yes, everyone, welcome. Don't forget, Las Platicas is a show hosted by Comadres y Comics where we, very cute co-hosts, meet with creators and friends to talk about upcoming projects, events, and all around awesome news in the Latinx comic community. Today, we have with us Jandro Gamboa. Yay! Jandro is a teacher and writer based in California whose book Monty Gomez is the Luchador earned our love, oh my God, all the way back in episode 24. Can you believe that? Like,
Jesus, has it been that long?
Yes, not even like 30. What are we, like 120 or 30? Oh my God.
131, yes.
Yes,
right.
so way back in episode 24. The Luchador is about a lovable 20-something slacker who discovers 3 masks of power at a local swap meet. In the series, we discover just what Monty does with these new powers and how this new responsibility affects his personal growth. It's a tale of bravery, friendship, and grand slam pie. Welcome, Jandro. Yay!
Right. Thanks for having me.
I can't
Welcome.
believe that it was that long ago when I was looking to see when we reviewed the book. And I was like, oh my God, we were just little podcast babies back then.
Baby pod.
Yeah. And because Jandro is our beer padrino,
I like that.
we are all gonna enjoy today
Oh yeah.
Monkish, guys. It is a monkish brew, and we each have a can. And this is called Wonder Kid, and it is a double Indian Pale Ale, and it is a 8.5%. And this one is very special because this was gifted to us by Compton Eric. Compton Eric donated this 4-pack to the show for today's Las Platicas. So we want to thank Compton Eric for actually donating this wonderful can that we're all about to enjoy and do a beer review at Las Platicas. This is the very first of its kind.
It is.
All right.
So,
let's
I'm gonna
pop
go
it
ahead
open.
and get
All right. Grip it and rip it.
open.
I'm going to agitate and then
Oh,
go.
damn it.
What, was that on the directions?
No, I just do it all the time now. Look at that.
Ooh, it smells really good.
Oh man, I'm getting fancy. I'm pouring mine in a mug.
Not me, I never do.
Oh, I love to pour
I
it.
could grab
And
one.
look at Sarah
Ooh.
actually has a monkish glass.
That
Of
is
course she-
I try to be fancy, guys.
Wow.
Look at that. Look at that color.
Wow.
Whoa, look at that. Look at,
Yeah.
if you guys can see that our logo is in the monkish
Yeah.
logo.
Oh, that is cool.
It's magic.
That's in-house special effects.
Yeah, when you held up the can, the silver part, it was showing on that too.
And
Cheers.
then
Oh
we
yeah.
got- oh, look at monkish. Cheers, guys.
Yay!
Cheers.
Yay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh.
Let's taste it. Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, hell
Wow.
yeah.
That's really good.
It's delicious.
Oh my God.
Oh, Wonder Kid.
Mm.
Okay. Monkish is one of my favorite breweries. It's here in Torrance where I live. It's literally, I would say probably, it's a mile away from where I live. It's walking
Yes,
distance.
yes.
I've walked there before.
Isn't that how you timer runs?
Yeah, actually,
I went
I
back
do
and forth
have
3
a-
times.
I do have a run where I go by all the breweries that are nearby it's early in the morning, so they're not open, but I just pass them all by.
This is very good.
If you run by them while they were open, would you be tempted to stop at every single one?
Actually, Jandro is an expert at drinking and running.
Yes, I am. I got a medal just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, my first time, we went to Catalina and I was nervous as hell. The only other time I was on a boat, it didn't even move yet, and I was gripping the ground. Like,
Oh my God.
So we took the ferry to Catalina, and there was an event called the Gooder Mai Tai Tropical Mixer, and you had to run something called. Well, you didn't have to. I did it like a man. Like I said, It's called the Mai Tai Mile. You run a mile, every quarter mile, you drink a Mai Tai.
Nice.
Wow.
Wow.
And like 3 minutes before, because there was games, the college drinking games, if you lose, you chug a beer.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I have to do that. And Mary says, I'm not chugging this. I'm like, give me that. And this is free beer. So like I chugged it too, and they said, okay, heat 4 Mai Tai Mile. I'm like, hold on.
So by the end of it, were you like totally drunk or tipsy?
Or
just
of the
run-
race or the event?
No, the event where drinking of the Mai Tai.
I was pretty lit by the time it started because there was a bar on the ferry. I only had one drink, and it was a seltzer. I didn't want to like I said, I was worried what my reaction would be. I took it like a champ. And then they gave me drink tickets. Mary gave me some of hers. We made a friend who gave me hers, and I'm like, all right. And half the time I went up there, the bartender's like,
"We're just here."
No, the bartender. Well, that too. I was like, can I just get 2 at a time? They're like, sure. Because
I'm telling you, you have to let me know the next time it happens.
Whoa.
Because that sounds
Let's do a live
fun.
Live show.
Live show. Us
And there was a guy
utterly wasted.
And it's sugar wasted, so that's even worse.
Right, Mai Tais, yeah.
I blacked the hell out.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Mary and I made friends with a nice couple, 2 ladies, and they're very cool. And they'd been there before, so we're walking back. We leave a little bit early because they're older. They need more time to walk. And I'm like, well, it's kind of dark and scary. And they say, oh, that's a bar called, I forgot what the bar's called, but they have a drink called the Wiki. And they say, if you drink it, they give you a hat and that says, I got my Wiki whacked. And I don't remember walking to the bar. I remember standing in front of it. I remember them saying, oh, there's that bar. I'm like, and Mary says, I just went,
I need that hat.
Ordered it, watched them make it. And she said I looked terrified the whole time because it was. And then I do remember lifting the glass, and the next thing I knew, I was back on the ferry. Like, I don't know if you, like train spotting. I just sat up. I'm like, and I shouted, where's my wife? And then I just lay back down again. And the next thing I knew, I was in the car on the way back to the hotel.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Where's my wife?
All right. I'm assuming it's October. Was it October? Yeah, October 2022. Right, sign me up.
Okay, if they do it again, I'll let you know. It was a great event.
Yeah, well, I actually did some research after you posted it, and Gooder has a whole bunch of different themed events. There's one with whiskey. There was one with something else. I can't remember.
They had a
what it
golf
was,
tournament last week.
Whiskey.
Yeah, so
where's the whiskey one? I want to do that one. I will.
Oh, when this beer's
book a
done, I'm
flight.
getting my whiskey
Ooh.
because I have a 7-mile run later today. Might as well just keep practicing.
Might as well.
Might as well.
It's out on the trails. Nobody will notice if I pour it.
Well, before you get into the whiskey,
Mhm.
let's go ahead and get started. We love talking about Monty and all of the amazingness that you've done over the years, but why don't you share with our listeners what your origin story is of how you got into comics?
Okay.
We'd love to hear about how you got started and just where it all began.
All right, thank you. My very first comic books came from my babysitter, and I mean that's kind of reductive. She was more than that, but
Ooh.
she
Ooh.
no, not
No, that's not what I meant. I
Hey.
meant, ooh, I really like the fact that it
talking
was
about Shirley.
I really like the fact that it was a woman who introduced you to comics.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, I'll accept that. Don't talk about Shirley that way. So she had this big old box of comics, and they were, what were they called? It was they published Disney comics. I want to say it was like Gladstone, and it was a Donald Duck Adventures. It was the name of the book, and it was like number 2, which still drives me nuts. I can't find that number 1. And Donald Duck was always my favorite cartoon character because I always felt like I related. Like I really try Nothing ever goes right. I get mad, and people say, "Why do you get so mad all the time?" Was that so the suicidal tendency song? And I just keep on trying, and it doesn't never goes the way I want it to. And so that was probably my first comic, and then that was it. Like every time I saw a comic, I'm like, I want to look at that, and she had a big old box. I think there were some Archies in there. She was all about wholesomeness. She made everything for us, like from scratch. She was real cool, and it just grew from there. And then our elementary school had a thing where you could sleep in the cafeteria. This sounds terrible, like by today's standards, but you spent the night in the cafeteria, and it was called the read along, where you would read all night, and there was like you would like rotate and read these books. It was really neat.
Wow.
Oh yeah, my mom
Honestly, I would be down for that in elementary school. Like
I feel
staying
like
up all
same.
night and reading. Like
I loved it, and like I'm not gonna lie, there's
I already did that as a kid.
Aw. I remember I pulled my bag up next to the girl I liked.
Aw.
I'm just
Totally
gonna set up here, and the principal's like, "Go over with the boys." It's like, oh man. And so, anyways, a friend of mine had I don't remember the issue number, but it's an iconic Daredevil comic. The one where it's a versus Punisher, and on the cover, the Punisher's like shooting him in half. It's
Oh my God.
like Punisher's like in this crouch shooting up, and Daredevil's getting blown back. And I read it, and it's Daredevil versus Punisher. Daredevil like has since been one of my favorites, and it was so brutal. I'm like, comics can do this. Comics
Yeah,
isn't just
going
art.
from Archie and,
Yeah.
and Disney to that. Yeah.
Yeah, this goofy guy who shouldn't even have one girl fighting over two, and now I'm watching like a guy get shot in half on the cover, and I read it and I was hooked.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a lot of extra money growing up, so I would go to the library and check them out, and that always drove me nuts because they wouldn't always like have them all in a row.
In order, yeah.
But the librarian, Mrs. Newell, would always say, like, she always put them aside, like let me read them and then put them on the rack, because I would just read them there. It was a long
I
walk.
love that your librarian was supportive and encouraging in reading comics. And I'm glad that just as a librarian, she was probably just glad to see a young person reading, period. But we have so many adults who still walk into the store and don't recognize comic books as quote unquote real books. So it makes me happy to hear that your librarian was supportive way back then.
Well, then I found out that's how my mom learned how to read.
Oh wow.
Cowboy Mexican. I forgot what there was a name for them. They're like Mexican cowboy comics.
Dude,
there'd be like women tied with their like
so hypersexually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she used to get in trouble for repeating like drop your grin drop your lid in and start your grinning or something like that. And like she said something like that in class and got in a lot of trouble because she didn't know it was just a fun rhyme.
Yeah.
I actually learned, perfected my reading skills in Spanish, reading those novelas, like comic book novelas on the subway, because we traveled on the subway in Mexico City.
Oh.
Yeah, so like my dad and my aunts would pick them up because my aunts would take us everywhere. They would pick some up and they would just hand them to me. So I, like the long ride on the subway, I was just reading. And the stories were kind of intriguing and a little bit like hypersexualized and stuff. I was older, so I wasn't like, I wasn't like 5, but that's actually how I got to reading Spanish faster. Like that helped me a lot with my reading skills in Spanish.
It turns out I have some kind of weird dyslexia. So I always had a hard time reading like newsprint or like textbook pages, basically. So everybody thought I was just a jerk. Like they would say, "Hey, read," and I'm like, the organism. Oh, no. And I found out later that shiny paper is easier for me to read. That's why I could easily. I found that out in college from a very frustrated study partner.
Dude, I'm actually the opposite.
The girl that Lizzie's based on helped me figure that out.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's a college friend.
Oh,
cool.
Very cool.
Still my friend.
Anyways, you guys talking about the like Spanish comic books like literally just unlocked a memory for me of when I was 5. And there was this like pharmaceutical place my mom used to go to get like medicine and stuff like that. But it was like a pharmacy / like curandera shop.
Mm.
Yeah,
As
so
they
it was-
often are.
yeah, and so and like they would have like they would sell like magazines by the counter, and one of them was like those old like Spanish comic books, and I would get in trouble for grabbing them because my mom saw me reading it once, and then she saw like a very scantily clad woman on it, and she was just like, no, you can't read that. And I was like, oh,
It's just getting good.
Just a part of the awakening.
And you know,
Yeah.
like in Mexico, like some of them, it wasn't even reselling. Some of them would actually trade stories.
Yeah.
So they were in
Mhm.
rotation all the time. It was, I mean, the content wasn't like kid friendly, but I mean, like I guess that encouraging reading, I guess. It was cool.
50 Shades of Brown.
that's basically what those comic books were, but like make it a Western usually.
I never got into the Western comics. It's probably the only thing I never have.
Yeah.
But yeah, then from there, I just loved comics.
Nice.
Yeah, like if I saw a superhero T-shirt anywhere, I'm like, Mama, buy it. Because even now you can get them anywhere. Target has like 19 different Superman shirts. But
Right.
like I was telling my wife about it, like we were watching like the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie, and she's like, "This is garbage." I'm like, "I know, but at the time,
Yeah, at the time.
It's
You
the
watched-
best that you had.
yeah,
Yeah.
now there's shows on Netflix that are based on comics that like I'm sure are great, but like I'm picky choosy now. Like
Yeah.
Jupiter's Legacy, I don't. No, I got to get through Umbrella Academy. I got to get through
Yeah.
Umbrella Academy.
Mhm.
Oh, totally agree. Yeah. Before I was like, whatever we can get, we just ate it up.
Yeah, you
Like
just had to.
Masters of the Universe. I mean, what the hell was that? Like, oh my God. So bad.
Gave me
Ugh.
such body issues.
Good journey.
Okay, I do love that movie though.
I know, right?
Filmed in Whittier.
Oh wow.
That's
Wow. Out of all the places, Whittier.
Whittier.
You know, although we reviewed the first two issues of Monty Gomez is a Luchador back in episode 24. For those who haven't had a chance to listen, can you tell us the audience about your comic and where did the idea originate from?
All right. This idea came from telling stories to my goddaughter. And I would she wanted to hear about my life. And like she would say, I want a real story, not a fake story. I'm like, okay. And so I started telling her about my life. She's like, that's boring. And I'm like, yeah, it's boring because of you. I was gonna go see the world, and now I'm here with you. But she, so it just kind of like, at the time I was working at a swap meet, you know, because that's what you do when you have a bachelor's degree in literature. And I was substitute teaching, working at the swap meet on weekends. I did that all through college, and so that's where Monty. You know, it's not much of a spoiler. First issue, like first 10 pages, that's where he finds the mask that give him his superpowers. And to me, that was like an analogy because I would have died without the swap meet in college. I mean, you go there with $10, you're eating for 2 weeks. You know, like there's a guy who would sell cans that were either damaged or didn't have the label. And I'm like, oh, that's shady. Like I feel like there's something shady about this. I grew up around, you know, some bad people. I'm like, all right, this could be meat. This could be what. This could be whatever. It was sad. I had a scene like that in the comic, but it was, you know, I had to cut it out. But so that's where that story came from. And then I just wanted to write about, like, you know, the people that were my friends just became the characters. Lizzie is based on my friend, Ellis. I won't say her last name, but you know, Ellis. Doer is pretty much just an amalgamation of all the before bro became a bad thing, of all my bro friends that were like, you know, more heart than sense, I guess is the way I would say it. Like,
Yeah.
not bad people. Yeah, very largely based on my college roommate Mike, he looked like just a ripped what's that guy's name? Born Identity guy.
Matt
He looked like-
Damon.
Matt Damon, like with brown hair. And he was this totally genuine guy. You know, he'd say, how's your day? I'm like, fine. He's like, no, man, how's your day? And I was like, oh, this is happening. Okay. Largely based on that, largely based on my buddy Danny Foster, who was he actually performed my wedding. just a super ripped, like heavy metal tattooed guy. And and visually, Mike Wellman. I don't know if you guys.
Yes.
Oh my God.
His original.
I can't unsee it now.
Yeah, I see it
If there was
now.
ever a movie, we would just use like that process to make him look like he's like 19 again or something like that, 19 or 20 again. But yeah, when I first started writing the comic, I'm like, what would I want him to look like? And I don't remember the actor's name. I was originally going to model him after he was an Avatar. He looks like a real life Shaggy. I can't remember the actor's name right now.
Oh,
But I do see the Shaggy.
Yeah. And so that's where that character came from. Detective Quintana is based on my track coach, track and cross country, because there's 3 people I put in every story I write, and he's one of them. Trumbull is based on my English teacher, John Trumbull, who was the first teacher who made me write like essays, because I was this guy, like, people knew I had it rough growing up, so they always gave me a pass. They're like, write a 9-page essay on this. I'm like, I want to write a poem. Is that okay? And they're like, oh yeah. He was the first one to say, you're writing an essay. I'm like, oh no, you don't get, you're new here. Let me explain how. And he's like, you're gonna write an essay. And he's still like he was teaching in the same district as me. So I was like, hi, Mr. Trumbull. He's like, you can call me John now. I'm like,
I can't.
I can't. And then a pastor. Oh, so my pastor that I had growing up, one of the best. Like this guy was true. But I can't say who he is yet because he's in the story already, but you don't know it's him. So, but his name was Bucky. So there's always a guy named Bucky in my comics or my stories.
Okay.
This is
That's
Yeah, I know.
cool. Hidden lore.
Oh, and I think you guys are hidden in one of the comics.
I know. I saw it. By the way, I think that's my favorite part of the story. But we'll circle back.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
So you have worked with 2 different artists who have helped bring the story to life. Can you talk a bit more about what each of them contributed to the story? And was it difficult changing artists mid-story arc?
You're about to get a scoop.
Ooh.
Well, first of all, Bernice, I've known forever. And I went through a pretty bad breakup in 2010. And I was like, so I put like all that energy. I'm like, I'm going to write this book finally. Oh, my earphones did just something weird. And for months, I'm just complaining, like, I can't find somebody to draw this book. I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like I'm on a trail run with a rock in my shoe and I can't get it out because I have this story and I want to share it. And the whole time Bernice is like, artist?
Like, hello.
Hello.
So
I'm right here.
Exactly. So at one point, I think she basically was like, just like grab me, like I can draw this, right? Like those weren't her exact words. It was that kind of thing. And I was like, oh yeah, because she has her own book. She has her own. I was like, I don't want to. It's like asking a friend for money. Like you don't want to like.
Yeah.
But she was great. She did the first 3 issues. And I always say she's my book baby mama. if it wasn't for her, like I think I started calling her that at the Modesto show. It's like, because did they serve alcohol at that, or did I just have alcohol?
I think you might have just had it.
You just had it.
I mean, no, I had professor
because it was a college
professor.
campus, so
Yeah.
they
Professor, I
don't
did
serve
not.
alcohol there, but you can probably find it nearby.
It was I had it during brunch.
Brunch.
So yeah, but then she started getting busier. Her work got busier. I think I'm not sure if she's done, but at the time she was going back to school. And like, I did grad school, so I know there's like, oh yeah, you're not going to have time to like, like sneeze, much less draw this comic for me. And around that time, up in the Salinas Valley Con, I think is what it was called. I met Nathan Campos, and he started off just by drawing a cover. It was going to be a pinup, but I wanted to change the cover, and so he drew the cover. and I kind of was like, "You want to draw?" I was like asking a girl like in eighth grade, like, "Do you want to dance?" Because with Bernice, like she wanted to, I didn't know it. Where with him, I'm like, he's a stranger.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I got that feeling I get at Comic-Con where I'm meeting these artists that are like half my age, but I'm coming up to them like, "So can I have a drawing, please?" So yeah, he drew it with the energy of a guy in his early 20s. Like he would you know, when I'm done with work, I'm done. Like pants off. Like I'm like, let's just watch YouTube clips because I don't have the energy for a show. Like he would go to work, you know, do social life, and then sit down and draw.
Yeah.
Maybe Jennifer still has that energy. I haven't had that for like 15 years.
No,
She's
seriously.
living that college life.
No, I mean, I totally get it. Like I, after work now, I have like a 5 to 10 minute nap, and then I'll restart myself and draw and clean and laundry, and it's just
Yeah.
hard.
I would never get back up if I did a nap after work.
So
that's why I don't clean our laundry.
Oh my god.
Guys, I'm gonna give you another scoop real quick, but here's one minor one. I like doing laundry. I don't know what it is.
It's
like it?
relaxing.
I do. I think it's like a Zen thing. I'm just like, because I have my own machines.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Until like I was 30, I would just drop it off at my mom's.
Oh my god.
Michigan boys.
I get it, because I do actually. I like doing laundry because there's like, or I liked going to the laundromat because there was like a process that I would do, and I would just like go through the motions, and I'd just be chill.
Well, yeah, like at Comic-Con, that's how I do my laundry because I'm like I'm trying to pack light, so like I'll do that. All right, so the other scoop is that it's probably he had some reasons, but Nathan can't draw the comic anymore.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you want me to share. Like it's
no, totally. I mean, I enjoyed his work.
Yeah, he was originally just going to do a fill-in, and then Bernice was going to pick it up because that style worked really well with the whole flashback and whatnot. But he ended up staying on. He put out, I think 4 or 5. Yeah, he put 3 are published, 1's in the works. But he's going to have to leave the book. I don't know if you'd want me to say why, but so no, I won't. But it's not like a bad thing. It's not like like when a tag team in wrestling breaks up. It's just nobody's going through a barbershop window. But yeah, he's. So I've already started talking to a few people. So hopefully in the next month or two, like he's got one. He finished a book, so that'll be coming out soon. Maybe later, if I can figure out how to share it, I can show you the cover at least. Because
I know you told us way back in the beginning when you first got him on that he was a bit nervous about doing comic books because it's something that he'd never done.
I think so. I think it was his first sequential book. Nathan, if you hear this, I apologize. I don't know, but I think this was because he's an artist. He went to the same school as me, UCSB. I gotta say it because I paid so much. I gotta get my money's worth. Yeah.
UC Santa Barbara.
That's where I honed these skills.
Party school.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Big old pint.
You can study buzzed. It's the best place to be a literature major. Finals week was great because you just wrote a paper, no test.
Oh, you're telling me I transferred to the wrong place?
Are you at San Jose State?
Yeah, I'm at San Jose State.
My little brother went there. He got his master's there.
I'm a creative writing major with a minor in professional and tech writing.
That's a good school for that.
Yep. It's one of the best.
Have you gone to the MLK yet, the library?
Yes, I love studying there. It's so
if you ever see that mural with the revolutionaries on it, it's I can't remember what floor. Okay, when my brother presented his master's in that room, and then my brothers and my mom all took a picture there. She was like so proud. I got a bigger smile because I got my master's like 4 months before him. He said, I think I'm gonna go back for my master's. I'm like, hey, that's cool. All right, I got it. Because mine was in the works. I'm like, I got to put a rush order on this. So Nathan will be leaving the book. He's finished. Let me look at the cover real quick because I already forgot. I'm so far in my head on the story. Luchador 2, number 2 will be his last one.
Oh, okay.
And it's a beautiful cover. Maybe I'll pop that on there on this whole situation later. So yeah, I hope the best for him because he's a cool dude, like good drinking buddy. Like because he lives in Watsonville.
Oh,
which
there's nothing else to do there but drink.
Well, but okay, so the town I live in, I like whenever I go to Watsonville, I'm like, this is just Santa Maria with better weather. This is
Oh my god,
this is nice. It's closer to the
I
beach.
think you can say that to a lot of the like places that are like not like the big cities in California.
Hanford. Hanford. I'm kidding. I like Hanford. So yeah, we would meet in between, and it was usually like the last time I had like the best cocktail I've ever had. I wish I could remember what it was called.
Ooh.
Like they lit something on like a plant on fire and turned the cup upside down or something real quick.
Wow.
And made this drink, and I'm like,
Fancy.
I was like, okay, Beardy, let's reel it in a bit. And then I drank it, and I was like, what? You're a god. You're a god among men. Give me another one of these.
Dude,
like,
you got to go back there and take a video because I need to see that.
If that guy's there again, I'm gonna.
Okay.
But yeah, so all the best, Nathan. I hope. Well, like I said, I don't know how much to share, but yeah, he's a good guy, and I'm sure he's gonna like. He has a background, I think, in graphic design. At Nathan. Oh shoot, I'll give his thing later. I'll look for it. But yeah, he's on Instagram. Follow him. He's great. But yeah, I've already been talking to a couple people. One person who's been a part of the mythos of the Luchador before.
Oh, okay.
And then a guy who's like one of my oldest friends. I might get him into the mix. He's another comic book guy. We went to our first Comic-Con together.
Wow.
Back when you could walk up and buy tickets.
Oh my God, I remember those days.
That's ancient history for me.
Oh.
That's when I started volunteering.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So we all know luchadores and their lore are a big part of Latinx culture. In what other ways has your Latinx heritage affected your storytelling?
Okay. I'm going to start dipping into it more in the future stories. My dad was, activist isn't the right word. I want to say revolutionary because it was the late 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
This is back when it was like you're out there getting tear gassed. You're not just liking
a guerrillero.
Yeah. And so he would tell me these stories. I'm like, and they're going to creep into the last series of the comic. By the way, it's going to be 3 miniseries.
Nice.
Ooh.
Scoop. So Monty's going to face his biggest threat, and each issue is going to start with a quick story from somebody in his family that like makes him push forward. And 2 of those stories are coming from my parents. One is from my big brother. But that dad story is one of my favorite ones he ever told. Basically, he was educated. He was already in college. Well, he was in the middle of his education, and he would still work in the fields in the summer. And he saw somebody getting mistreated. And by the way, this is my dad telling the story. My dad was a big fish kind of guy. I don't know if you ever saw that.
That movie. Oh my God.
Hard one to watch. That movie came out like 2 years.
Yeah.
That came out like 2 years after my dad died. I'm like,
Oh.
Yeah.
this chubby white dude's my dad.
Yeah.
Oh, he's my pops. But he says he broke a shovel over the guy's back.
Oh my gosh.
And then when the guy got up and turned around, everybody was just like picking.
So you never know who did it?
You never knew who did it.
I love it.
I feel like he knew it was my dad.
Yeah.
And
you can't prove it though.
Yeah, but but each of these stories that comes from my family is going to push that story forward, and it all comes from that Brown Panther. I think my dad was background. Did you know there were Brown Panthers?
Yes.
The Brown Berets.
I think you guys talked about that.
Yes,
Brown Berets. Because you said that, I'm like, oh, my dad wasn't full of that.
Yeah, it was on.
Not entirely.
Yeah, the Black Panther was it the Black Panther Party?
Yeah.
Book
The
we
Rainbow
read?
Coalition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, and I think a lot of us, well, in the we'll just call, what should I call it, the LCX sphere. A lot of us just wanted better representation of us in comics. Like I know they were Puerto Ricans, but in Daredevil it was always like the brown guys were always in a knife with a headband, and for some reason always a cut off denim vest. Like, give me your wallet, and then Daredevil just like knock him out, say, "Not today," Pedro or whatever. And I always hated it that like the only time there was anybody that wasn't white in the comic, they were the bad guy. And like this went into the 90s, like y'all should know better. Like there's in the whole Superman mythos, there's like one I don't even know what his Latinx character named Gangbuster, I think. And I'm sure he's dead by now. I'm sure one of these big storylines just wiped him out or something. So yeah, I just wanted to put people like that in there, because another reason I wrote this comic was I would take my goddaughter to comic stores, and I'm like, "Hey, Green Lantern, that's my favorite." Oh, guy's getting his hand cut off so Sinestro can steal the ring. Can't do that. Oh, what's this one called? Oh, there's like rape is a plot point. No, can't do that. It's like no. So I wanted to write something that kids could read, but I want to try to do. I hate to invoke it, but I want to do the Disney thing where it's for everybody. Like you can watch Coco and like as a kid and just say colors and flying dogs, and you can watch it as an adult and say, "Ooh, that was kind of racy." Oh, I see. And you get those old references like El Santo is in there, and
Frida is in there, and so is Cantinflas, I think, made an appearance.
I saw that, but like I heard that, but I didn't see him. So, but
it was in the party, in the big party.
Oh, okay. It's such a lavish movie.
Yeah, it's in the background. Yeah. So, like, there's a lot.
I mean, there's
like,
something to be said for Disney's business model in that they are quite literally one of the biggest forms of entertainment out now.
I just did the Boogie Bash, and I was there with
Me too.
All right, calm down. Yeah, I loved your costume, by the way. That was nice. I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, that'd be scary. A Latina Captain Marvel.
I know, right?
Oh, geez. What was it, El Marvel Capitan? But I was like, there's that, and of course it's in the corner, but they have like, I call it the Coco corner.
Oh yeah.
On the California Adventure side, and I feel like it's going to be getting bigger. It's like we're the biggest population in America. You better start. And there's one coming up, isn't there? Like a superhero one. Encanta.
Yeah.
It's on my trick or treat bag.
I feel like there was another one too, or maybe that's what I'm thinking about.
It's one where like there's this whole family of people with superpowers.
Yeah.
I think it's called Encanta. I don't know if it's superpowers or magic, but same thing really. But like, yeah, they're starting to recognize that market. Like when I take this comic, because I've been to Ohio and Michigan with it, when I take it other places, like I always make the joke, oh, they're horny for my comic in Michigan. In Michigan, I go with a suitcase, I come back with an empty suitcase because people are like, oh, brown people, interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's Michigan. Don't get me wrong, I love Michigan, but it's always snowing when I go, and I don't like snow. I don't do snow
either.
Yeah, I realized that I don't like snow. I like looking at snow.
I like looking at it. I like appreciating it, but I do not want to be inside of it or outside in it.
And Kristen, you'll appreciate this.
Like if I have to be like somewhere where it snows, I will be inside making hot chocolate for everybody else who is outside.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit in the ski lodge with all the bunnies. And Kristen will appreciate this. I still ran. Like, and I was miserable. Like I sent a picture to my wife. Like I got like the long johns, I got the shorts, I got like a sweatshirt, a dry fit, another sweatshirt, beanie. When before the pandemic, I had the big old gator.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And in Michigan, I don't know, they don't have distances. Like you got, y'all in LA, like you don't measure in miles, you measure in minutes.
Yeah.
In Michigan, I was like, hey, like what's I want to run to this and back. Is how far is that? Oh, it's that ways a piece.
Excuse me?
Ways a piece.
I get on my phone, like, what's the conversion rate?
For ways a piece.
Ways a
piece. Well, yeah, but yeah, like it's a market that I think a lot of these bigger companies are starting to get smart enough to tap into. And and the sad story about Coco, you guys probably, I think you talked about this too. They tried to copyright Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is some bullshit.
Yeah.
What the fuck were they thinking?
It's
Seriously.
like
I
y'all,
mean,
y'all know,
100% Disney.
y'all know you can't get away with that. Like,
Yeah.
but I think the power of our people was like, no.
The collective disdain of a bunch
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
brown people, and
I'm
also
sure
like
my
you can't
angry
really
emails.
trademark a holiday.
Yeah, like what next? Kwanzaa? You're gonna try
Yeah.
to take that from people? You're gonna
Oh my god.
take away Chinese New Year? I mean, Jesus. You don't.
I wouldn't be. I
It's a
wouldn't
love
be
hate with
surprised
Disney.
if they tried.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think we can all admit it's a love hate relationship with Disney.
Yeah.
But
But
I think that's why they did such like 5 years of research for Coco, was because they fucked up so bad trying to copyright that they went ahead and like did like all the research and all the work for Coco, because they were like trying to repent from their sins.
and didn't they?
And-
Isn't that when they
And that's
hired
when they
Lalo?
brought Lalo
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
yeah, that's when they brought. I love that dude. That guy's the best. Like when he like when even I get mad when he talks. I'm like, oh no, I agree with him. Why am I so mad? God.
He's very suited for his job.
Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, we're talking about Lalo Alcaraz, who is a cartoonist of La Cucaracha, the syndicated cartoon. He's a political cartoonist, and he's amazing.
And yes.
Yes.
And when he's savage, he is savage.
Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Non-censored, go to Lalo.
Yeah.
Monty Gomez is a luchador, and he has seemed to evolve from a lighthearted and funny story to a more dark and serious tone. Was that intentionally done or planned or from the beginning? And what do we expect in future issues?
Ooh. All right. So I have been working on this story for 20 years, writing it at least, or at least in my head.
Wow.
And
Passion project right there.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
well my goddaughter is now like in her 20s, so it's
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Dude,
Yeah.
when you said goddaughter, I thought like 10.
Me too. Right
Oh.
now.
Honestly, yeah.
oh no. Well, at the time, yes. Now she's she has her own kid, and
Oh.
yeah.
Is she
You
around
can
my
start the
age?
process all over.
She just had a birthday, and we're gonna go see Metallica together.
Oh,
where
that's
are you going? Where are
nice.
you going to see them?
Nice.
The 40th anniversary show in San Francisco,
Wow.
Nice.
and I'm like, oh,
Yo.
big crowds.
Yo.
I-
I'm gonna have to see if tickets are still available, because San
You can
Francisco is an hour away from me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that area very well. We're drinking next time I go that way. Just so as you knows. You been in La Victoria yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, get that orange sauce. Get a bottle, take it home. But
Okay, got it.
what were we supposed to be talking
Oh,
I think the beer is
Curse
getting
you,
close.
Compton.
no, metallic. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't what we were talking about. I was like, metallic.
Oh, the dark. Okay.
Yes.
I think there's something natural about that. Like I was I haven't read them, but I did see the movies. Harry Potter starts off like, ooh, this is really fun, and it gets super dark.
Oh, yeah.
And
Magic
like,
school.
yeah, like, oh, it's a wizarding school, and then people like kids are dying all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, damn. And Star Wars, the perennial trilogy, it gets darker as it goes on, and it pulls itself out of the darkness. The behind the scenes is when I was writing the story, I was engaged to somebody, and it didn't work out. But like I would always bounce ideas off her, because and this is something that I want to share with anybody who's writing comics. Share it with people who don't read comics.
Oh, wow, that's a great idea.
Because my ex didn't read comics. Like she watched the animated Batman, the animated series, who did it. It was gorgeous. She watched Gargoyles, all that stuff.
Oh, yes.
But I would bounce things off of her, because I want people who don't read comics to pick up comics,
Right.
mine preferably. So I would bounce like the first story, and I think I even included a thank you to her in the first issue, because I started writing it when we were together. and she left. And I was in a dark place when I was writing the story that's coming out now. And let me turn the lights low, get dark. I grew up around a lot of negativity. I grew up around I just, a lot of things that I experienced growing up, nobody should experience. And that started coming up. Like the ultimate villain he was already in the first series. You just don't know it yet. Oh wait, yeah, you do if you read the part 2, number 1. He's based on, just like Doer is based on like an amalgamation of all my bro friends. He is based on everything this new villain is based on everything I think almost every Latino is afraid of becoming. Like this, like the fake macho, dog fighting, like treat women badly kind of guy. And it just got darker because I was in a dark place at the time. And I pulled it back. Like that first issue is pretty dark that just came out. Then the next one has a scene Nathan nailed it. Like this scene had been looking forward to since I thought of this guy. And shout out to Jeff, my best friend, for giving me a name for this guy. Because the name's never used, but in the scripts and in my brain, he has this name, and it appears once. What was that? Once in this comic. Yeah, it does get dark. Like as I'm writing, I'm trying to because this has Aztec roots, and we know what Aztecs did. So I'm trying to figure out like the Nickelodeon way of showing Apocalypto, basically. If you saw that movie, like a lot of cutaways or something like that. So I do think it got darker for personal reasons. What's going on in my life, and I think it got darker because because I set it up as a trilogy. I think trilogies just get darker as they go on. And maybe in the last 10 minutes, like Return of the Jedi, oh, look, the Ewoks are like, doing the Roger Rabbit on top of a stormtrooper.
It's a weird projection. Oh my God, yes. You have like, especially like when you take in like the hero's journey stuff like that. And it's just like, you got the call to adventure, and then you got the problem in the second part, and then you get the resolution at the end. Oh no, denouement. Or as I called it in college, because I only read the word. I would say the denouement. And my professor was like, "Oh, okay, you're dumb. You're a different kind of dumb. All right." I had some good professors, but like I got to college not knowing England was an island. Like you could take a train to France, and they're like, "Oh wow, okay."
I mean, I definitely feel that because I came from a very small, sheltered area where and I think I've shared this before, all Asian people, my grandmother referred to as Chinese, but in Spanish. Yeah. And so when I got to college and started hearing and seeing all these clubs I was like, oh my God. Like I didn't realize how uninformed and what's the word when you don't know what ignorant I was of the world, because I just was in such a small little one-horse town. Oh, so
I hope that didn't pick up. No, I know how you feel. Like I knew that there were Jewish people because I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan. And then I move into the dorms and I have a Jewish roommate all of a sudden. And he's taking me, I can't remember what it was called. Hillel, I think it was the name of the club. Because it was free food every Friday. I'm like, nice. Pass me that Manischewitz, dude. Oh yeah, it was free food and drink every Friday. So I'm like, I'm down with these folk. And when I was slimmer, Santa Barbara would have these cultural festivals. Like it would seem like every other week. When I was in better shape, I could pass for almost anything. So I'd be like 1 week I'd be like, hoppa. And the Jewish festival at some point I could even pass. It was great. Being swarthy helps. Incredible. That's what I do in class. I get caught in my grandpa headphones. But
All right.
it does get darker, but I know what I want to do in the final arc. I just haven't written it yet. I got a lot of notes. But I think you're going to see a lot of familiar faces in the final issue.
Well,
Can't
we
wait.
are excited. Yes. And can you please indulge us and our listeners in telling the story behind the historic interlude that is issue number 4?
Okay. So in the first issue, there's a throwaway line mentioning Los Maximos. And when I can't remember what the name of the podcast was. But,
whoever could it have been?
I don't know. These 3 comadres were talking about comics. I forgot who it was, because especially at the time, those early in the show.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad you guys identify yourselves now, because when you guys get going, I don't know if I've ever said this, I get scared sometimes. I grew up with like all female cousins, and when that laughing usually meant something was going to happen to me. Like they were going to put barrettes in my hair, or I mean, that's why my nails are painted. Sometimes they would even do that to me. So I was like, I'll do it first. You're not getting me. But yeah, going back
that
to
brings
it.
me so much comfort. I want people to be terrified of my laugh. They know that something's going to happen to them.
I think that's a meme, like beware the smiling Latina or something like that. My favorite one recently is, are you married to a Latina? You might be entitled to financial compensation.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one right now. But wait, God, we're so bad at this. What were we talking about?
Historic interlude.
Oh yeah. So one of
I'm a
you
little
mentioned like, oh, I want to know more about this. And I'm like, oh, I just made that up. Like I just wanted it clear that this is a world with superheroes and Monty's gonna be the only one in this town. And then I started thinking about it because I had all these heroes that I made up in my head. Because that's what I do while I run. Pop in that music and just drift. Like,
Yeah.
and the more pain I'm in, the more I come up with.
Wow. Okay.
Oh man,
that's your writing process?
Yeah,
Relatable.
I formulate while I run.
Wow.
I make the playlist. I listen to playlists while I run. Think based on what kind of story I want to write. Because my best, there's a this will come up later. Never mind, but I'll remember that. There's a playlist I listen to a lot, saying I need to write that story. Dang it! But for me, it's like, oh wait, because I have a background in video production.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, my high school had this great program where we made a 10-minute news show every day. For like soup to nuts, like script to editing every day, and it was intense. And I was like this dumb kid that I could barely read, but like, oh, you put me behind an editing machine, and then they made it digital, and then I was like, oh, I'm out. I need a bank of machines. I need like 9 VCRs, and like when it was all on one computer, I'm like, oh, that's too hard. One instrument. Wait, god dang, we're bad at where was I going with that?
Los Maximos.
Los
Yes,
Maximos.
Los
So
Maximos.
one of these ladies on this unnamed podcast mentioned they wanted to know more. I'm like, I kind of do too. And there was a point in the story where I don't want to give away too much. One of them supporting characters finds out he has a connection to Monty, and so I wrote it out, and I'm like, this is too much talking heads. And I thought about it, I'm like, why don't I just tell the story? Why don't I just take the advice of these? I can't remember their names. And it's, for people listening, it's them. It's these comadres here. So I wrote it out. I was like, oh, this is good. I'm not gonna lie. When I finished writing that script, it was the easiest thing I've ever written.
Really?
I've been writing my whole life. I paid for college with writing.
Wow.
I finished it and I was like, that was the easiest. Like I went into it thinking, all right, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I think like 6 beers and 2 hours later, I was like, I don't even think I edited it. I think I was like, that was the most pure thing I've ever put out.
Wow.
And I loved it. And those characters are coming back.
Yay.
Oh yeah. I got so many good moments for them. So yeah, the Los Maximus are led by a guy named, what name did I settle on?
El Gato?
I think it was like El Gato Chulo or something like that. Based on
Pretty kitty.
based on my dad, but basically the suave guy with the polo shirt with the stripe. It was just the uniform in the 70s. And then La Dama Fantasma, who's got this power. They mentioned it in the comics. It'll come into play later, where she looks like what you want her to look like.
Yes, I actually wanted to touch base on that because we've made reference on the podcast where the female superhero or super person is always dressed in scantily clad clothing and heels. But I love how you have an explanation for that in your issue of Los Máximos.
Yeah.
Like I was like, when I was like looking at her, I'm like, oh no, he fell into that pit of despair. But then as I kept reading, I was like, good save.
Yeah.
Like you have been listening to our podcast.
Yeah, like some people will see, like children will see like their grandma. But the guy that sees her as a sexy unitard, I don't know what those are called, the Captain or
Leotard?
The Miss Marvel one.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, of course he's gonna see that. He's El Gato Chulo. And then then there was Reverend Ruckus, who
I love him.
I love that guy too. He's got these powers where the more righteous his cause, the stronger he gets, because he's a reverend. And then the last guy was a last minute thing, but he became my favorite, the Road Angel. He was originally be called Highway Star. He was going to be a highway patrolman, but I was like, cops don't help in the ghetto. Why make this guy a cop?
That's right.
And I wanted this team of misfits because, going back to like, I should have brought this up sooner. I used to watch the El Santo movies. Were you guys all? Was anybody here raised in LA? All right, cool. On Channel 5, there was a guy who would show movies on the weekends, and I don't remember his name. I think he passed away in the last year or two. He would sit in like this, it looked like a 70s basement, and he would like have a projector next to him. He'd talk and then play a movie. And it could be Pippi Longstocking, it could be a bunch of Three Stooges shorts, and sometimes it was El Santo, and sometimes it was blaxploitation things. And sometimes I think Elvira was in the mix at some point.
I only watched the blaxploitation films.
Yeah.
When he
So
would do that.
I would always ask my dad, who was a college professor, like, why don't El Santo and Shaft team up? Clean, Foxy Brown, why don't they just get together and just clean up these streets? And my dad was a professor. He would say like, well, these companies have rights and they have to figure out like the legal. I'm like, okay, I'm already out of this conversation. So that's what Los Maximos is. It's all these exploitation characters coming together. That's why it's a biker. That's why it's like a Foxy Mama. Like, what was her name? Foxy Brown type character.
Yeah.
You got your El Santo type, and then you got your Shaft type. I just wanted to create a 70s super team. And
I love that.
Yeah. And like, so Road Angel is like, oh, I have such a moment planned for him in the last issue. Oh, there's another scoop. Get me another beer and I'll just read this. No, I haven't written it yet, but I got this moment for him that I'm so proud of. I called him the Road Angel. He's there you go. His whole backstory comes from a song from a band I really like called Volbeat. The song's called $16. They're like heavy metal rockabilly. I just saw them last week up here in Basso.
Oh, cool.
But yeah,
heavy metal rockabilly.
Heavy metal rock from Denmark.
Wow.
Oh gosh, she's gonna hate this. My wife, this is my first. I go to LA a lot in one night and back because that's where the stuff is. And the first time we saw this band together was one of those boom boom and then work the next day. Oh. And after that night, I was like, oh, I gotta marry this chick. Like, she just took it like a champ, and she's in love with the lead singer as I am. His name's Michael Polson, and every time I see him, it's a joke. I go, stupid, sexy Michael Polson. Like, she put on makeup for the show. I'm like, makeup? Really? All right. I guess I'm probably driving home alone.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
I don't blame you. He's a very pretty man. But yeah, like so Los Maximus just came out of you guys. I'll admit it. It was you guys. I was trying the anonymity, but like it really worked out to further the story. And there's going to be, if I can work it out, there might be another flashback issue with them, because I really, as I wrote that story, I wanted to tell another one, and it's going to be before the events of the one that you guys are talking about.
Ooh.
Because there's some animosity. There's a character in there, the Professor Hellbrain.
Yep.
I'm going to explain him a little bit better, because Fantastic Four was always one of my favorite comics because they were a family. The Thing has never turned heel. He's never been a bad guy. A lot of heroes are killed off, replaced, become bad, whatever. Ben Grimm's always been Ben Grimm. That's who my Reverend Ruckus is. But I wanted to explain why is this animosity there between the Doctor Doom type and the Reed Richards type, and so hopefully I'll have time to tell that story maybe between the second and third arc. But yeah,
Nice.
I think you should, because the bad guy,
Glad
like we
could
got
contribute some way.
we got a snippet of the turning point of why why he went that route, and it was kind of like something you've seen in movies and seen in comic books, but you just got like a taste of it. So now, like, I want to know more. Like, there is a story right there. There's like a love triangle. Like, I need to know.
Yep. Oh, there is. That's where most pain comes from.
I really enjoyed that issue, and I enjoyed it even more knowing that you took an idea from our podcast and went with it, and that was the end result. So I'm a
man of the people.
I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, and they are coming back, and I cannot wait. Oh,
yay!
So happy about this.
So you've talked to us about being a teacher and working in the education system. Can you talk about how does that influence your writing? Do any of your experiences as a teacher come into your stories as well?
Not this one yet, but I can't remember what the book was called. It came out a few years ago. I wrote a short story in there about what it's like to be a teacher.
Oh.
It was Professor Latinx put together like a compilation, Tales from La Vida, I think is what it was called. Yeah, which was presented in the San Jose MLK Library.
Wow.
He ended up not being able to make it, so they asked me to introduce it. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of shy. Hey, everybody. I jumped right into it. I'm like, I'm a ham. I used to host shows, whatever. But I wrote a quick story about that where do you guys remember, it was like probably 5 years ago by now, there was the Oscars So White hashtag?
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm glad that's out there, but I've never cared about the movies. I want to see brown people, as doctors, as lawyers. I don't care about actors. I mean, I love entertainment, but actors don't change things. Actors don't make a difference. You don't see actors every day. I want to see more brown cops in my town that is like 90% Hispanic. I want to see, like, my current doctor is my age, which blows my mind because I'm old. But he's Dr. Lopez. I'm like, hell yeah, Dr. Lopez, love that. And so that's what that story was about. Like, my kids asked me about this Oscar So White thing. I'm like, I'd rather you guys were in college than on a Netflix show. Like, representation matters. Don't get me wrong, but I think it matters more in these professional places where nobody expects you.
Right.
I went to UCSB, where I think at that point Mexican men were like 0.5% of the population, and that blew my mind. I'm like, where I'm from, I'm common. Here I'm like, I'm exotic. And this is during the Latin explosion, which was like what, like 3 singers were brown, and I was like, that's an explosion.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Blues Travelers like 7 jackasses, but I guess 3 people's an explosion. All right. So yeah, and as far as the Luchador goes, I try to, at least with the first arc, I try to make it so I could share it with my students, but they don't really know. Like, there's a local comic store here. My name's on the cover. A kid said, "Do you know the guy that wrote that comic?" I'm like, "It's me." He's like, "No, but it says Jandro. Your name's Alejandro." I'm like, "Oh boy." Okay.
Oh my god.
Hey, don't feel bad because when I got my signed copies, because I
Oh,
know you buy
that's
Jandro,
right.
and I got my signed copies, and it starts with an A, and I'm like, who is this person signing my comic book? And I was like, Jandro Alejandro. Oh, got it.
My full
Oops.
name.
Connected the dots.
Yeah, my name is super long, so I just sign initials. Like I have to sign my name like 10 times a day at work. So I'm just like, I was signing it all out. Oh, wrist cramp. I need a brace. But yeah. So yeah, it does come into the story because Monty is trying to be kind of what I am. I'm trying to be something that these kids don't see every day. My dad used to always say that he wore a tie every day because, especially when he was teaching in the 70s and 80s, he was going to be the only man that these guys saw all day. You know, this was the generation of absent fathers. And so he said, and I'm sure
I
nowadays,
think that still holds true.
yeah, well, it's getting a little better, but now the dads are still there, but they're just handing the kids a tablet. It's like, but I'm sure this philosophy might not fly today the way he worded it, but to appreciate the sentiment, he said, if you're going to be the only man they see all day, look like a man. Which I know, like, there's probably a better way to say that now. Like, but my kids always say, why do you have to wear a tie every day? So I say, I get to wear a tie every day. When I was working in the fields, I wasn't wearing a tie. I can tell you that. I don't do that anymore, by the way. After the pandemic, boy. That's what my wife calls it. I did it as a joke, not as a joke. I wanted it. It looked comfortable, so I wore it to Knott's Berry Farm last spring, and she liked it. And I was like, oh, I was kind of trying to embarrass you. So my whole wardrobe is now just these shirts. My shorts have martini glasses on them.
Oh my gosh.
I got my pineapple socks on. I went all out. Yeah, oh yeah. They're compression socks because I am running later. Yeah, but yeah, I think being a teacher affects everything I do. It's been, I think this is my 17th year teaching. I know,
Wow.
I know, I look young. But yeah, it's my 17th year teaching. I think I might have the first child of one of my first students in class.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
It's like, don't do this to me, heart
Like,
attack.
oh, no. One of my kids came up and said, what's that band you listen to a lot during break? I'm like, oh, Metallica? Like, yeah, they're in the history book.
No.
I just had a reaction. I slapped it out of his hand. I'm like, but I did the same thing to my mom. I'm like, what's that band? The Beatles? Oh. History book. What was that thing called? Woodstock?
From the mouth of babes.
Yeah, I was like, oh, these make me feel old. Like I sit there trying to do my like Dave Chappelle references, and even he's too old for them now. Like,
oh my God.
That was so mid 2000s. Like, dang, that's all I got. Oh no,
That's all I got.
I do sometimes use stuff I learned from them in writing because I'll have them say, "Hey, what music do you like?" So I can put this reference in the story because what's a Lil Nas X? What is?
I love him.
I love him too.
I do too, but that just jumped to my head. Like I always said
Good.
that if I was ever a rapper, my name would be Lil MC Ice X because that was all 90s rappers had at least one of those in their name.
Oh my God.
Boom.
What creative challenges have you faced with your project, and what lessons can you pass on from what you've learned by tackling them?
I think I'm different from a lot of the people that you've interviewed in that I'm not a one-man army like Javier Hernandez, or both Javiers, Jav Solo as well. I have to rely on an artist for it, and it is kind of scary. Like you're not always guaranteed to get what you want, and I've been lucky with the artists I have that I do, but there's still that fear. Like even though Bernice knows my brain so damn well because we spent hours drinking together, it's still scary when I used to hand her a script and say, "Oh, what's that going to look like? Does she know?" like I don't, because you don't want to write too much, but you're also afraid of not writing enough.
Yeah.
And there's this panel that's my favorite panel from the first issue where they're going to this abandoned park to test out the masks, and they're going under a fence. And the way she drew it, I was like, how did you know? Are you a wizard? Like, you stole this straight from my brain. That's exactly what I had in mind. And then I want to talk about what Nathan did, but it's in the next issue. He drew one of the few full page spreads in the comic that I'm like, nailed it. It introduces the villain in his final form. And I'm like, oh, he got it so right. Like, I think I might have even commented on the document, chef's kiss. This is it. This is the one. So that's the biggest challenge, just having somebody else draw it, because it's hard to find them. You know, you gotta come to terms on how that's going to happen, because you got to pay your artists. I keep hearing these guys that want, like, oh no, it's what's the word, exposure. Draw my comic for exposure. I'm like, no. Like, I'm like, because in college I had a student teach, which meant I was paying to teach. I'm like,
right.
I'm not gonna do that to an artist. That's messed up. They've honed a craft. Like, whether they went to college or not doesn't matter. They're really good at something. I'm really good at 3 things. I can only get paid for 2 of them, but like, I expect to get. I only expect to get paid.
Just got it. Sorry.
In this country. Like, if someone's good at something, you pay them for it. Like, I heard that in a movie. I'm like, hell yeah, that's a more succinct way of getting this philosophy out. Like, but yeah. So yeah, my advice would be, if you're like me and you have to collaborate, pay your artists. Pay your dues. There's people that like this came up at the Lucha Comic Con in Pasadena. I want Monty to meet other people's characters. But sometimes people are like, well, in case I get a Netflix deal, I don't want, this to mess it up. I'm like, make a damn comic before you're talking about your Netflix deals. I mean, I've had meetings for the comic for different things. I know they're not going to go anywhere, but I'm not going to say no to a dinner.
Yeah.
Give me those, like, what's the lobster? Yeah, gold crusted lobster. I want that. I don't even like lobster, but you're gonna pay for this meeting, because like, that's what Comic-Con is for me. Like, I work there, but at night I'm taking meetings, and I've had people say, and this is another thing, don't compromise. You have the art, you have the power. I had a meeting once where, might not be the exact words, but this guy was like, does Monty have to be Latino?
Wow.
And I was like, bye. Of course he does, dude. And one guy kind of did the opposite thing, where he's like, oh, it's really good how you have a white character, an Asian character, and a Mexican character. I'm like, well, if you're not an asshole, you have diversity in your life.
Right.
If you look around and there's no diversity, that's a choice you made. I live in a 90% Mexican town, and yet somehow I have diverse friends. Go figure. God, these meetings, man. But so that's some advice I'd have. Like, don't look forward to Disney making a $90 million movie of your comic. Just make the comic. Just put it out there. Like, I'm doing it just because I want it out there. I'm not. I always tell my wife, like, I should just marry. This is my fishing trip. I'm a middle-aged man. Like this, I'm not going to make any money off this comic, but I like talking about it. I like sharing it with people. I like that. God, I miss comic shows.
I know, me too.
I hope Modesto happens in March. Oh God. Get vaxxed. Get vaxxed, everybody.
Yes.
Anybody that thinks.
I'm pretty sure I can actually go there.
That'll probably be closer for you than LA.
Yep.
Oh, here comes Mary. But yeah, don't compromise on your art. This is your vision. These suits don't have creativity. That's why they wear suits. I hate to say it like that. They make money off of your work, so don't compromise. And also have fun with it. Don't sit there saying, oh, I have to keep this pure in case I get a movie deal. No, just make something fun. Who knows that those people that read that that's why you cross over. This came up at the Lucha Comic Con. Javier, Super Lucha Cats.
Yes.
There was a question of what character would you like to cross over with, and we both said each other. I don't know how Monty is going to work with like Lucha Cats, but like I would not want to miss out on that opportunity because I'm worried about like a deal that's like 99% of them fall through anyways.
Can I make a suggestion? I think
Yes, ma'am.
Lucha Cats can cross over with Monty Gomez if you take the Lucha Cats mentor, the woman with the Luchador masks, and cross her over with Los Maximos.
Oh, that would be good. She's like doing this way all the way around. Yeah, have fun with it. Don't sit there worrying about a deal. And granted, I'm in this position where I'm comfortable. I don't this. Like I said, this is something I do for fun. This is I didn't buy a motorcycle and marry 20-year-old blonde. I make an independent comic. This is my midlife crisis. So have fun. That's what it's supposed to be. Like, it drives me nuts because I've been going to Comic-Con since 2000. That was my first one. And there's people that show up thinking this comic is going to be a storyboard. Like, this is going to be the next big movie. I'm like, or it can just be a comic.
Yeah.
If it's good, it might become a movie, but it might not. It might just make people smile. Like I remember thinking about this because I used to work in a comic book store. I would look and see every single one of these is somebody's first comic. Every single one of these is going to someday be somebody's favorite comic. So why be happy with that? Be somebody's first, be somebody's favorite. Speaking of Super Lucha Cats, Javier took a picture of my first sale, and it's like one of my favorite pictures ever. It was a father buying it for his young daughter. And like he asked a question. I think he just asked, "Is this okay for her?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Sold." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not. I don't even think we're open yet, but all right."
Oh, that's cool.
That's amazing.
That
I love
money
that.
still spends. That'll pay for some parking.
Okay. So, who are your creative role models? What books do you recommend to our listeners that highlight Latinx culture and diversity? And I know you've mentioned Javier a couple of times.
Yeah, both Javiers, I want to say.
Both Javiers.
Yeah, in terms of comics, if they're at the Latino Comics Expo, they've inspired me. Sonambulo was like the first lucha hero since like El Santo that I read about. This was back when the Alternative Press Expo was still in San Francisco. And I looked at this book, I'm like, this style, the way he draws men and women, I mean.
He's so freaking talented.
He did a pinup for one of my recent issues, just saying.
I saw.
We're talking about Raphael. I don't think we've said his name.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yes, Rafael Navarro.
Navarro, yeah. Yeah, he did a great pinup for what I want to say issue 5 of the first series. But I should know this, chief. But he's just doing it to have fun. Like, he's not. I mean, he is an animator by trade, but he just does this for fun. So yeah, he was definitely him, Javier Hernandez. The godfathers of Latino comics.
Godfathers, yeah.
You don't kiss his ring when you meet him? Is that just me? And as far as other things, I think I'm more influenced by movies in terms of Latino creators, like oh god, what's it? He has a Guillermo del Toro is like just that guy tells a story.
Oh, Guillermo del Toro,
Guillermo, yeah,
yes.
I think he's a huge influence. Just stylistically, I'd love to write something like that someday, but I'm afraid to get dark because, like, it's just like with the a beer. Like, I could have like a little bit of darkness. No, it's not dark.
All the darkness.
All the darkness, all at once. Let's see. And then this sounds kind of weird, but my dad was a writer, so a lot of his writing has kind of influenced me. Because I was 22 or 23 when he died, And I didn't appreciate a lot of his stuff because he wrote about like some of the things I was talking about. And when you're 22, 23, you're like, oh, the 60s, whatever, like fighting for rights. Whatever. Oh, there's no cell phones yet, so but when I was doing all that. And so reading his stuff later, I'm like, oh dang. Now I get it, like, because he had a darkness about him too. And I was like, oh, I get that darkness now, especially now that I think I'm 6 years from the same age he was when he died. So like as I get closer to it, I'm like, oh dang. Okay, I kind of get it now. It's that whole Watchmen thing. The older you get, the future looks darker and the past looks brighter.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Do you
funny question
actually I wanted to add on to that, like, and I know you've seen or read stories that your dad wrote. Like, do you think that maybe you could like maybe include that in an anthology, like actually bring one of his stories to a comic format, or even maybe doing a 1 issue or maybe 3 issue series based on his work?
That actually might work for a couple of his stories. I don't think he ever wrote the story, but the one that he told about with a shovel, that's going to be in there, but that's a story he told. I don't know if he ever wrote it. And it was really, after he passed away, a university wrote to him asking if they could publish one of his stories.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, stand back, everybody. I'm the man of the family now. I'll handle this. And so, like, I am the executor now. You know, I'm 22 years old. Like, I don't even think I was shaven yet.
Oh my God.
But that story that they wanted, I can't remember what it's called right now. I don't think he titled his stories. But yeah, there's the stories he's told are definitely going to creep into the comic. Stories he's written that might be. I mean, I guess technically my mom's in charge of all that, his stories now. So I think I got an in. I'm at least her third favorite son, so I might have a shot at a pub.
I'm really interested in seeing like a interpretation from a son of a father's stories. That's like a really amazing,
a tear-stained comic.
An amazing idea.
I'm sure like the Kuberts have done something like that. Kubert. The family, I'm sure somebody's done something like that, but I don't think it would be as I don't think anybody's ever done that in like a non-superhero kind of way.
Yeah.
Ooh, you guys are giving me thoughts.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are working on anthologies that want to hear our stories, and that would be like a really, like, if you develop them, then when the time comes to submit them to these anthologies, I mean, you never know.
And
forget the anthologies, make your own book with all of your dad's stories.
I might look into that. And I don't know if they'd want me to share it, but some of these current elder statesmen of comics know who my dad was. So that's kind of mind blowing. Yeah, he was on the forefront of the Chicano movement.
That's nice. That's
back when they spelled Chicano with a C and an H.
Yeah, no X.
Yeah, I think that was a Lalo Alcaraz joke. Like, somebody asked him, what's the difference between a Chicano, a Mexican, and a Latino or something like that? He's like, a Latino doesn't have enough pride, a Chicano has too much pride. Something like, it was really funny. Like, and I was like, that was one of those things, like, I'm kind of mad that you said that, but that was great.
Oh, maybe you could use different artists for each story. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm so excited about this.
You know what? Talk to my agent.
Okay, I'll set up a meeting. So anyway, we have a segment called Chisme de la Semana. Chisme, where are there any stories, comics, projects that you're working on currently that you want to chismear about?
Okay. Yes. First of all, I want to hype Kale's today, so I guess that's too late to talk about Kale. But I'm sure this is coming out later.
I saw that. I was like, where was I?
Yeah. Oh God, I can't wait for stuff to be in person again.
I know.
But I want to definitely hype the Comics Art Festival, the LCAF.
Latino Comics
Art Festival. Yeah, that's coming up in March. I'm not sure what the publishing schedule here is, but I want to hype that because virtual or not, I got to be there. And hopefully it's in person because that is a great show. And the Latino Comics the LCX in Long Beach.
Mhm.
I
It
don't know.
happened last week. Yeah,
It was last week. Okay. Oh, dang it.
virtually.
What was I doing last week? I think I was doing a
Drinking?
race. Well, that's a given. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, now
Mm.
that's the one that we were like, oh no, it's going virtual because that freaking place, Mola,
Oh,
had
a bar.
a bar. It was
Mhm.
open from beginning to end. I
And-
had like Jamaica
Mhm.
margaritas at 11 a.m.
And that little
Actually, it
restaurant,
was
there's
like
like a
9
little
a.m.
cafe next door.
And you could walk with your drink, and it was
Yeah.
just awesome.
Well, that's what the Ape used to be like in San Francisco.
Nice.
I think that's how I got
Alternative
brave enough to
press,
talk
yeah.
to. Yeah, I don't think they do it anymore. But that's how I got
Aw.
brave enough to talk to a lot of these early creators. And I remember Raphael saying, "Just do it." I'm like, "Okay, good idea." But yeah, and what?
So, Jandro, I know you are a constant listener of Comadres y Comics.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you know that we have a segment called Juntos y Fuertes. And that segment highlights noteworthy endeavors of by members of marginalized groups that we really like to give support. So is there any projects or programs that you would like to highlight or plug?
Okay, I know it's kind of a big one, but one of the charities, I don't even know which organizations that gets the majority of my support is the Human Rights Campaign.
Oh, okay.
I have so much merch. I have this rainbow unicorn shirt I love wearing. People always say, "Are you gay?" No, but I'm not an asshole. So, or no, why are you wearing that? You're not gay. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not an asshole. So, support. That's always number one. What's it called? Oh, dang it, I already forgot. But that's definitely one. That's like my number one. Like that was one thing I learned from my dad. The same people that didn't want them to get married didn't want you to be, married to. Well, like I'm in an interracial marriage, and the same people that don't like gay marriage don't want
Right.
interracial marriages.
Right.
And that's one thing I would storm the Capitol for, because
That's so mind-blowing to me to think that, because I'm also in an interracial marriage.
He's Italian. That's
so
pretty much.
So mind-blowing to think that people would be like, no, you can't be together, and like that it was a freaking law. So,
yeah, like within my mother's lifetime. Well,
yeah,
both my parents' lifetime. That's was it the Loving Act? I want to say 1967, 68, somewhere in there.
It sounds right. Yeah, there's a movie I think you could watch on HBO Max.
I did.
Loving, I believe it's called.
I think it's just called Loving, which like I wish they had called it something else, because that just sounds like a Twilight kind of story. Like,
yeah,
Loving. But that was just their name.
Yeah.
And like most of the people I know are in interracial marriages. So the idea that the government wants to say who can get married is ridiculous. Like if you want to do that, do it. Like, I don't know. I mean, the slippery slope argument always bothers me too. Like, well, then what next? Guy's gonna marry his truck? I'm like, why not?
Right.
Let him marry a guy in his truck. I've seen some pretty sexy trucks out there.
Dude, I heard about this guy marrying his blow-up doll.
Ooh, there's a show I like. Guys, I listen to other podcasts. I hope that's. I know. I hope this is an open one. But there's a podcast called Dumb People Town where they just read dumb news stories and kind of comment on it. They're comedians.
Yeah.
And there's a woman who married a chandelier.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've seen one about a woman marrying a bridge.
I've seen that, and then a jet, I think. Like, and come on, jets are pretty sexy too. I mean, with sleek lines. But yeah, God, we keep veering here. Definitely Human Rights Campaign is something I always do.
Yeah.
I just did the homeboy race. I would always say,
that's right. Every year I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and it always conflicts with something.
Join our team.
I used to work very closely with that organization. I worked with an organization that worked with girls involved in gangs, and so And they often utilized the services that Homeboy Industries provided. So
Can you tell us more about it? Because I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, first, let me date the podcast because you guys talked about what students run LA.
Oh, yes,
what it
yes.
And for me, it was the last episode. I don't know how deep you guys are in your library here, but it was. I think it was the last one that came out. They were there in force.
nice.
And I loved it because I used to coach. I used to coach cross country, and when you're running, when you're done, you don't have time for gangbanging or
Right.
whatever they're worried about doing in whatever community they're in. So they were out there. So Homeboy Industries was founded by say a Franciscan named Catholic named Father Greg Boyle, and he would on his own go into the ghetto and do what men of God are supposed to do. Judgment free, just go in there and talk to the homeboys. That's why it's called Homeboy Industries. And he was I don't think he gets enough press for it. He got people together that those that know about the 80s, 70s, 80s gangs in LA, he got people together that would never get together.
Mhm.
And you can see them. So he started just on his own, and now it's this whole organization where they have a bakery called the
Mhm.
Homegirl Cafe.
Homegirl Cafe.
Oh,
Their chilaquiles are so good, and their salsa in store. Oh my god!
they don't sell it. I was like, sell the salsa. That's
Yeah.
like I think the first product was chips, tortilla chips.
Mhm.
But like I've been doing this race. I think they've done 11 or 12. I think I've done about the last 5 or 6 of them. And I'm not like a super, I've gone to church in the past. I read my Bible every day, but like I'm not a super churchy guy. I'm not sure, if there's anything, but like when I shake that guy's hand, it's like getting the Care Bear stare. You feel warmth, you feel purpose. You're like, whatever is real, whatever's after all this guy is here now doing something doing more good than any politician's ever done. And so one of the major fundraisers every year is a 5K, and it's usually the first weekend of October. And this is the first year I did it with a team. It was just 3 of us, but like I wanted to do a team. One of my friends is a burlesque producer, and she ran with a friend, another friend. And then we were joking, like, this is the earliest you've ever seen me. And I don't have a drink in my hand, it was crazy. And Father Boyle is always there. And this year, I'm like, wear a mask, please. Don't, because he wants to meet everybody. He's a man of the people. But I'm like, every hand I watched him shake, I'm like, oh, that could be the one. Don't take this light from us. But yeah, it's a great organization. They do job training. They do tattoo removals. There was a really, really nice girl that served me the one time I went to the Homegirl Cafe, and she had like "fuck you" tattooed on her face. And then I went a couple years later, those tattoos were gone. I'm like, oh, thank God, because that's going to be hard. I'm okay with tattoos, but like, that's not going to present a good message to the public.
Yep.
But
the organization is really, really amazing and does such amazing work for a population that is literally just thrown away otherwise.
Yeah. And there's cookbooks. There's like, I have like 5 running t-shirt or running dry fit shirts from those guys, because the first time I met them, I was bleeding because I was wearing a cotton shirt.
Yeah, bloody nipples.
Oh my God.
Language.
You just made me like internally flinch.
I know. Yeah. I was just like, ow.
Bloody nipples on Fair Tour 2022.
That's my band's name, by the way.
That's my hardcore punk band.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to start a punk band, and I was out running thinking, what would be a good punk band name? The Fat Vegans.
Oh my God.
Fat Vegans.
That is a good name.
I thought it sounded great because I'm only half of that. I'm not a vegan. I don't know why. I just can't shed these pounds.
Where does this 5K race take place?
Downtown LA.
Oh, okay, cool.
What's it? Bruno Street. It's like
Yeah.
right across the rail from Chinatown.
Mhm.
I don't think it's technically Chinatown anymore, but it's great. I've always had a good time. They find the one damn hill in that whole area to run you up, and I'm like, and usually like there's bands along the way, but I think this year they're keeping it kind of low key because last year it didn't happen last year. Well, it was virtual last year, which it's cool, but
Yeah.
that energy is not there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they find that one hill, and there's like one of those. I'm sure there's a name for it, but the Chinese drum bands.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Kudo, I think it's Kudo.
That sounds right.
No, that's Japanese.
No, that's Japanese, yeah.
That's Japanese.
But
sorry.
like you're going up the hardest, the only hill, and like they found the steepest one, and I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna do it. And then you hear the drums, you're like, that's my heart. That's my heartbeat, and then you just keep going. But it's a great organization. He has all the time in the world if you want to talk to him. He wants to hear everybody. He wants to help everybody. Like I said, if everybody who called themselves like a Christian acted like him, this world would be a better place. It makes me ashamed because I always drive away feeling like I don't do enough. Dang it. Yeah, but yeah, I recommend it. And Kristen, you're on the team next year.
Okay.
And anybody else who wants to get bloody t-shirt nipples.
Okay, so where can our listeners and viewers follow your projects and future projects? Got a website, social media?
The easiest place is probably for now Instagram. It's called Monty you have to say the I caught that, at Monty Gomez Comic on Instagram. I do have a website. Let me pop that up real quick. Nathan did a great job, like kind of updating it.
Oh, cool.
Oh, he's got the artistic background. I'm just a dummy with an idea. Labishka-ink.square.site is where you can buy stuff. Labishka, by the way, was my dad's nickname for me. So that's
I actually wondered where that name came from.
I know, me too. I was gonna ask you when you were here and I totally forgot.
Well, when I was little, and this is again might be a big fish story, but I guess I woke up one day and said I want to be called Labishka. And I don't know if I heard it somewhere. There's this thing called Google. I probably could have figured it out, but I never have. And so he always called me Labishka. Like that. I think that was like one of the last things he said to me. Like my little Labishka. And so and if you ever see my I guess it's called a trade dress, that it's paper art based on a photo that it's my mom's favorite picture of me. I'm like, I got my long curly hair and she said, you're always holding pencils. And I'm like, and you just let me run around with pencils? Like it was the 80s, whatever. Kids are expendable commodity at that point. And I have a shirt that says future millionaire. With my checkered suspenders. It might have still been the 70s in that picture. But yeah, Labishka Ink, for anybody that's been curious, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but like it's something that if I always knew when I started publishing, it was going to be that, because I wouldn't have written it if it wasn't for my dad. One of my favorite memories of him, because like I said, he was a writer. He had a typewriter. And one time I wrote this, it was probably like a rip-off story of The Last Starfighter, because I was obsessed with that movie.
I love that movie.
And so I wrote a story and I just said, hey, read this. And I went out running around in circles in the backyard because that's what kids do. And he opened his office had a window that can open to the backyard. He opened the window, said hot off the press, and he had typed my story.
Oh.
And I looked at him like, I'm a writer. I'm a writer.
Wow.
And also because raised Catholic, you have to have some disappointment with your joy. I was like, that was like 5 pages. This is now it's 1 page because it's typed. you gotta have that misery with that joy. There's that old joke about two Catholics watching a sunrise or sunset. One says, "Oh, what a beautiful sunset," and the other one says, we're gonna pay for that. That's my favorite joke.
That's funny.
That's
so
the Irish is coming out in me.
Oh my God.
have I'm assuming every single one of us finished our beer. So we have to rate
Oh yeah.
our beer. So for those of you who, and this is the first time ever that we rated a beer on our
Las
Las
Platicas.
Platicas.
Oh, do you not normally do that?
No.
No.
No,
Oh,
we
shoot.
usually don't drink at all.
Yeah, it's actually the Las Platicas that have started via Zoom. This is the very first beer
Well then,
review.
let's get
Yes.
dirty.
So as a reminder, this is Wonder Kid, a double India pale ale from Monkish Brewery, located here in Torrance, California. It is an 8.5 ABV, and I don't have any other really information on the can other than my palate telling you that it was so effing good.
Yeah.
So,
And I actually wanted to thank Compton Eric for donating a 4-pack to this Las Platicas episode. We really appreciate it.
yes, we
It is
do.
amazing.
So
Yes,
this is
it
a guy
really
from a
is. It's
store,
really good.
right? Like
Actually, Compton
shop?
Compton Eric is my brother, and
Oh.
he
I did not-
is a very big.
we're revealing everything today.
Yeah, he's a huge Monkish fan. We used to do when we used to stand in line for the can releases. I mean, we've gone back that far back, but now like you order online, you pick up from your car. It's very like they're very safe about it. So anyway, he donated this 4-pack to us from one of the Monkish limited can releases.
And
This
they
is
do
my-
that a lot.
This is my
yes.
first monkish.
Oh really?
I've heard
Really?
y'all talk about it for months, if not years. And
Years.
if we ever do a follow-up, I think this is the place.
Well,
And by the way, we're in God's alcohol country, y'all.
Yeah.
Wine, beer, distilleries. It's right between San Jose and LA. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the place. I got spare rooms.
road trip.
Road trip. And
Road
like
trip.
like we explained before, Jandro
Oh, yeah.
is our he is our beer compadre, because whenever we used to be at actual functions and
20
actual
years ago? Like 20
conventions,
years ago.
billions of years ago, before like in the olden days and ancient times, he would bring us beer and we would do like actual beer tasting at these
Yeah.
functions, because he always came with beer. And
All
that's
low
what-
key under the table.
Oh yeah. It was
In
great.
I've worked security for Comic-Con so long, people just like, yeah, nuclear weapon, go on through.
Oh my god.
So this is pretty an iconic episode, because we're kind of like sealing it off like Las Platicas remotely on Zoom with a beer review. So Kristen, take it away.
Okay.
Yes. So for those viewers who don't know, we do have a what's it called? A rating scale that we review that we rate the beers that we review on, and the scale is a 5-point scale, starting at 1 being flaccid, 2 initial, 3 partial, 4 out of 5 is a full, and a 5 out of 5 is a rigid. And if it is off the scale, off the charts, it is a Super Saiyan. So what would you say, Sarah, that this Wonder Kid is?
Dude, and maybe because I haven't had Monkish in a while, and maybe because of the company we are keeping right now and who we're sharing the beer with, but my God, is this a Super freaking Saiyan? Like from the first sip that I had, I was just like, oh yes, like oh my God, yes, like oh, I don't know if it was the time of day, I don't know, because if it's a weekend, but it was like it all synced together, and it was just Super Saiyan for me. Like so good. Like I was like, they better release this one again, because I loved it.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I think I've mentioned in the past that Monkish was a quick favorite of mine here in Torrance, because originally they only brewed Belgian style beers, and I am a huge Belgian fan. And then the IPA train shot off the track and they had to jump on it. And they just started brewing all kinds of different.
So is that why they were
beers.
called monkish? Because of their...
I believe so, yes.
Oh, okay. I always wondered about that. I was like, is
Yeah.
it because of that show on USA? Are they really OCD about keeping their tanks clean?
Oh my god.
So I've never made that
Connection.
connection at freaking all, but that makes all the sense in the world because of the Trappist monks who brew the Belgian style beers, and there's a specific there's specific beers that only can be called Trappist. So anyway, we're going off track a little bit. So it used to be my favorite, and then they started delving into other stuff, but every single thing I've ever tried from Monkish has been so amazing and good. And this is no different. I haven't given a Super Saiyan in a long time, and for a double IPA even, I also am going Super Saiyan for Wonder Kid. It is so good.
Mhm. Well, I really did enjoy it. Because when I first initially smelled it, I was like, "Oh my fucking god, another Diet Coke IPA." I
I'm
don't.
with
It
you.
is
Yeah.
our
The smell was
resident,
intimidating.
not IPA fan.
It's not that I'm a fan. It's just that the hops sometimes are a lot.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy this. The taste was nothing at all as to what I smelled. It was really, really smooth. It drank really well. I was like, hey, I could easily chug this, but I didn't because I need to be mindful.
I think I did.
But I'm gonna give it a rigid.
Yay.
Well,
Andro, what
I
do
like-
you rate our beer?
I have my own rating system.
Okay, what's your rating
Woo!
system?
You have to tell us.
Another first here on Las Platicas.
Well, okay, so my equivalency to your highest possible rating, I'm going to call it prom night sex. And this was it. This was your Super Saiyan. This beer, I mean, if this is indicative of monkish, I need to go to Torrance more often
Yeah.
because it is an excellent beer. Like I think, like just like with Jennifer, I smelled it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to like smile through this. Like it's the lowest is Amish sex, where you just smile, think of flowers, and let it happen. But no. I smelled it. The smell's
That's
still
just
there.
Basic missionary.
Yeah, exactly. And but the taste, oh, that's a dangerous beer.
Oh yeah.
Because what was it, 7.5?
It was
8.5.
8.5.
Eight
Yeah.
and a half. So like, yeah, like I could see myself falling into that trap, and I think I did,
Yeah.
because then
Yeah.
that just triggered the whiskey, the stout aged whiskey, because I'm a gentleman.
Ooh.
It takes the edge off. It really does. But yeah, my prom night sex, definitely. Like
Nice.
that was a very good beer. Thank you to whoever made it. Thanks to who bought it. Thanks to who handed it to me. And yeah, that might become a favorite.
Yay.
Dangerous.
Yeah, very
favorite.
dangerous.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess a 6 out of 5.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right.
That's the SFW version of my rating.
Well, that was our beer review on Las Platicas, first inaugural beer review on Las Platicas.
I
Thank
keep
you
waiting
so
for the
much.
sound effects.
Right? We do like that. We miss our soundboard. Well, anyway, that was an amazing time. Thank you so much for being on our podcast,
The
for being on
Citizen
Las
Kane
Platicas.
of interviews.
It's been such a pleasure. I mean, we've been graced with your company many times on conventions, at events, at Free Comic Book Day and
Oh,
Idaho
yeah.
Comics. I mean, we've had conchas together, we've had beer together. We
Burritos, I
had
think.
then we went to go eat in Modesto together. I mean, it's just been but it was just
You guys made fun of my Lent promise.
I could not believe we hadn't had Las Platicas with you. Like I couldn't believe it, and I was like, we got to have you in.
Yeah, like
And
every
then-
every couple weeks, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Oh, let me tell you, I ordered all the 5 comic
did.
issues, and for hashtag Inktober, which I don't call it that, I call it I Draw in October. I wanted to draw Monty Gomez, and I wanted to do a different mask. So I proceeded to flip through the comics, and I wanted to just flip through the comics, let me tell you, because I was short on time. But I'll be darned, I was so sucked in by the story that I ended up rereading all the comic books again before I could even start to draw one. So I was like, man, like, I'm so glad we're having him on, because your story is so freaking good. And I want you to know that, like, I mean, I read it a second time. I caught on some little things that I missed the first time. It's just keep on doing what you're doing. I super freaking enjoy it. I love Los Maximos backstory. I can't wait to read more about Monty Gomez. I love the relationship him and his girlfriend have. I love that his freaking roommate. He always makes you laugh. Come in. We're going for it. We're having a moment. Like, it's amazing. So thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
You cheer me up.
Don't cry. Don't cry. No
I'm
more,
Macho Man.
no more tears. No. But anyway, thank you. That has been our episode with Jandro. Thank you so much for being on our show. And we have been your hosts. I'm Sarah.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm Jen.
And I'm Jandro. And y'all need to like and subscribe, because that really does mean a lot to these shows. I've never had a podcast, but I listen to a lot of them, and that makes all the difference.
Yay!
Leave a review, for God's sakes. What is wrong with you? And I think it's Jennifer wants a salty one. So make it 5 stars, but then write something salty.
Nice.